Namaste, sir, and a very warm good morning to you, and a very good evening to everyone, those who are watching this session with me. I am Janvi Mishra, a final year student of BNYS, and today we have someone very special with us. I have one question to everyone that how many of you believes in yourself? You people are so surprised at why I am asking the question to you all. I'm asking this question because today we have our speaker who believes in himself, who believes in transformation, who believes that a dropout student from the university can be a doctor in the future, who believes a person who is depressed can transform himself into a better version of himself. So, ladies and gentlemen, today it is an honor to introduce our speaker, Dr. Paul Maximus, who is a naturopathic physician in Canada. He will contain some few topics regarding our session that will include that meditation and muscle building and natural science. So, it is a very good and very interactive session going to be. So you people just sit back and relax and enjoy this session and have your solution with us. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your time and giving your precious wisdom with us to shower your wisdom with us. I welcome you here on a small virtual platform on OYG. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir.
Well, I'm very grateful to be here. Jahanavi, thank you so much for the amazing intro. I'm a Canadian. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia. The Olympics were here a few years ago. I don't know if let's do a little test here in the chat window. If you've heard of Vancouver, Canada, say yes in the chat window. Let's see how many people have heard of the city where I live. So I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but I live in Vancouver, Canada. I've never been to India. I can't wait to go. I absolutely am enamored by the culture. I mean, it's the motherland. It's the bed of so much natural medicine, so much traditional healing knowledge. There's just so much I could say about India. So as soon as I was connected with you guys, I was very grateful to jump on and to be able to support. So I want to make today a little bit of an informal session. As you can already tell, I've asked for the chat window to be used. And so if you have any questions, any thoughts, any questions as we go, please just fire them into the chat window. Don't hold back. There's no such thing as a bad question. And it can be a personal question. It can be a professional question. It can be, sir, what do I do about this patient? Or what do I do about this problem? I'll stick with my strengths, but throw out the question out there and see where the conversation goes. So let me first maybe give a little bit of my backstory. You gave a beautiful introduction there, and I'm sure people are wondering, what did that mean? What does she mean a dropout can become a doctor, and that this doctor believes in the power to change? For me, my story goes back to college. When I first went to college, I was stressed out. I was very stressed out. And as we all do, I'm sure you guys in busy in your studies right now, everyone has coping mechanisms. Whether that for some people it might be eating. I mean, I think that's a very common one. For some it might be eating, and so you'll gain a few pounds maybe during your studies. For some it might be staying up late watching shows way past your bedtime when you should be sleeping, but you need to stay awake and do something. For others, hopefully they're positive coping mechanisms like yoga, meditation, exercise, eating well, connecting with family. Hopefully you have positive coping mechanisms. But I had some negative, some sort of positive coping mechanisms taken to the extreme when I was in college. And so I was a long distance runner. I ran like crazy. I would run a marathon after 1 week after the next. I had no real plan. I was just kind of doing it to self-medicate. I was just doing it to kind of be able to stay afloat, to be able to stay in school. And it was about a year and a little bit before my knee gave out, my foot gave out. I couldn't run anymore. So the one coping mechanism that I had suddenly got pulled out from under me. I had nothing left. And so I was hit with depression. And I'm sure that this is a challenge that you see in practice quite a bit, that you see whether you felt depression, or you have dealt with family members or friends who have been through a period of depression, or even patients, clients. It's a very, very difficult thing. It's a very difficult situation when you're depressed, and the very organ that is supposed to help get you out of it is the thing that's got you into it. And so it's very difficult to turn that around. So I was in university and I was depressed, and I dropped out of school. I was getting 40% in all of my classes. I couldn't stay in school any longer. And so I took some time off. And when I left school, I naturally I went to the doctor, and I told the doctor, hey, I'm in this situation where I'm depressed. I'm dropped out of school. I'm having a really hard time. I can't get out of bed. I'm just crying. I'm in bed. I can't get out of bed. I'm not the same person that I was a few years ago. What happened? And the doctor said, oh, you have a serotonin deficiency. You just need to take this medication. I will give you this medication, this once antidepressant, and you will take this antidepressant, and it will just make your depression go away. And I thought, oh, great. How great this is, that I can just take one medication and all of my problems will disappear. And I'm sure all of you can relate. You know where this is going. Of course, that one medication did not fix all of my problems. And so that one antidepressant that I tried, a few weeks later, I wasn't feeling any different. I wasn't feeling much better, maybe a tiny bit, but it was in placebo territory. I didn't really know if it was true, or if it was just my mind. And so this went on for me for about a year. I went to the doctor again and I said, hey, it's a month later and I'm still not feeling any better. I'm still not back in school. I'm struggling. I'm crying in bed. I can't hold a job. I'm just not functional. And he said, no problem. I have a solution for you. And I said, great, give me the solution. And he said, here's a different antidepressant. And I said, okay, I'll try that. So I tried that. And again, I didn't really notice much of a change. This went on, and this happened again and again, different antidepressant didn't change. The approach didn't change. And so I started becoming frustrated. And I had never heard of a naturopathic doctor before. I didn't know that there was any other way. Internet. 2005 or so, I went on the internet and started searching. What is depression? How does the brain work? How do pharmaceutical studies get published? What else could be the reason why I'm depressed if the serotonin deficiency? And I started finding all these different articles, started finding studies about omega-3s in the brain, and having enough vegetables, and having a good amount of protein, and making sure that you're not stressed out too much, and making sure that you're sleeping properly, and you have good relationships and good connections and meaning and positivity in life. And all of these things were totally new to me that I was never taught in the doctor's office. The doctor just said, here's an antidepressant, and maybe you should talk to someone. That's sort of the extent of my education as far as the doctor's offices went. And so I started learning all these things about nutrition and exercise and psychology, and I put them all into practice. Immediately, I was hungry for change, and I was desperate for change, because at one point I was feeling some suicidal thoughts. And when you're in that place, you are desperate. You'll take any possible solution that comes your way. And luckily, these solutions started putting into place. Instead of running really far, I would start lifting. It seems like so I put all of these different strategies into practice. I started eating differently. I started moving my body differently. I started thinking differently. And what do you know? My entire life started to change. line. My emotions started becoming positive, regulated. My way of seeing the world was positive. And when I left school, I was getting 40% in school. When I went back to school, I was getting 90% in school. And now I was doing a psychology degree, and I was really excited about it because I had a reason to be there. I had a reason to study it. And fundamentally, maybe the biggest thing this whole experience taught me is that the health is, in a way, a lot more complicated than it seems, and at the same time, a lot more simple than it seems. The science of health can be very complicated. We can talk here about biochemistry, we can talk about flavonoids and polyphenols and all the different components of all the different herbs. We can go very, very complex about the science of the herbs. And at the same time, we know that in general, if people eat less processed food and they eat more a wide variety of medicinal herbs and good fruits and vegetables, then we see that just as a simple rule of thumb, eating more colors, a person's health improves. And they don't need to know anything about flavonoids and polyphenols and different antioxidant pathways. They just need to know, see colors, eat colors. That's it. And so to me, there were a lot of learning lessons here where it can be very complicated or it can be very simple. And maybe one of the biggest things that it came back to for me is it doesn't matter how, the most is what you do, what you can do. And I'm sure that you guys are, of course, so smart. You know so many things right now. Okay, so so this whole process taught me a lot of things. And maybe the most important was that it doesn't matter what you know, it matters what you can get clients to do, what you can apply. And so this is partly what I want to talk a little bit about today, is what are the best strategies that we can use to get clients to do what we ask them to do, okay? And I'm sure that you have clients where they say, "Doctor, tell me everything and I will do everything." And then a week later, when they come back to see you, you say, "Okay, what did you do?" And they say, "Oh, I had no time. I had no time. I didn't do anything." And you say, "But I gave you all this perfect advice and you didn't do any of it." And they say, yes, I was busy and I have this excuse and I have this excuse and this excuse and so many things. And so how do we get clients to actually do the things that we're asking them to do? A couple of strategies I want to talk about today. One of them is that you have to break whatever it is that you want them to do. You have to break it down small. You have to make it so that it's so simple and so basic. An example of this might be, let's say that you want someone to start meditating, or you want someone, let's stick with the meditation example. You want someone to start meditating. Either you could tell them, "I need you to meditate 1 hour every single day, or 20 minutes every single day." And that's far, far, far too much. Of course, they're not going to be able to do it. So one of the advices that I give is for people to meditate maybe 10 seconds per day. And this might be as simple as just when you are leaving your home, you remember when you open the door that you have to close your eyes for 1 second and just breathe for a few breaths before you leave through the door. And that might be a simple, basic beginning of the meditation. And so oftentimes in medicine, we will, because we know so much, we're so smart, that we give 100 pieces of advice. And the 100 pieces of advice are way too much. It's too much for anyone to do. And so the wisest doctor will be the one not who tries to impress their patients with how much they know, but with breaking down the habit into the smallest possible component that they can get a little bit of momentum with the client on. And so some examples might be for meditation. You might get them to do 10 seconds of meditation per day. Or for exercising, instead of saying, "You have high blood pressure and you're overweight and I need you to lose 10 kilos, you say, "Instead, I'm going to have you start with 1 push-up per day, every day for the next week or the next month. And that's a lot easier for people to start doing. And once they start doing that, you can build momentum and you can start getting them to do it more and more frequently. And so there were a number of these things that I did where I started very small and I kind of built momentum and eventually changed everything I was doing. I changed the way that I ate. I changed the way that I thought, the way that I slept, the way that I was. And the depression lifted. And I went off all the medications and I went back to school and I was getting 90%. And then I went from there on to naturopathic college. And so that's where I became a doctor. And now I'm able to help other people with those same sort of challenges. So, you know, there's a ton that we could talk about here. And I do want to open up the floor to questions, maybe even a little bit early, to be able to get a sense of what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys find with your patients? Answer in the comments if you can. What are some of the biggest challenges that you find with your patients? Compliance, Azuma says. What else comes to mind? Compliance is a big one for sure. What else? What else comes to mind? Maybe it's only compliance. So let's talk about compliance for a moment. Compliance is my favorite topic to talk about because it's in line with, I think, what is the missing component of medicine, where you can study all the textbooks that you want. If you can't get the person to do the exercise or to turn off their phone and go to sleep or to do their meditation or to eat properly, that's maybe the biggest one. Yes, they don't follow what we want them to do. And so if we can get them to do that, that's maybe a big component. Please say yes in the comments if you have heard of something called motivational interviewing. I'm seeing some other comments about laziness to follow the exercise routine, trust in alternative medicine, of course. So put in the comments, have you heard of motivational interviewing? Say yes in the comments if you have. Azuma says no. Most people, I'm sure, haven't heard of it. So please say yes or no. If you've heard of it, I'm going to tell you all about it. So let's just see if anybody is a ninja with motivational interviewing and secretly knows about it. Okay, I'm getting a lot of no's. Okay, maybe let's role play here for a second. Jaha Navi, are you able to jump back on the call for a moment and let's play a little bit of role play. I'll show you how this works.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Okay, you can hear me, you can see me?
I'm here.
Okay, great. So
Yeah,
let's say that you are a smoker. Do you work with any smokers? Do you have to convince any people to stop smoking?
Okay.
Often, right? You come across somebody who smokes and you have to convince them of how to stop smoking, and it's very difficult. So let's pretend like I am the patient who's a smoker and you are the doctor telling me not to smoke. Okay? Go ahead, tell me not to smoke.
Okay. Mr. Paul, you are smoking so much, okay? You know, you have your family, okay? You know, your health is your wealth. And the most important thing that this life, you have to live. You don't have to waste it, okay? When you will smoke, your life expectancy rate is already reducing. You are reducing by your own self, not by the God. You are reducing it by your own self. So it's your duty to take care of your body because your body is your temple. So always take care of it. And one thing more, if you will be there, your family will be there. Okay? So I know you enjoy while doing the smoking and your peer pressure is there. You enjoy with your friends while doing so. So still just remind your mind that uh, when you do so, did you really enjoy the same thing when you are with your family, with your children? So just take one chance and few seconds for yourself to think about this. And I'm sure, totally sure that this thought uh, change you. This thought will change your mind. This thought will change your uh, thought process, like what you think about your life. That's all.
Oh, Jahannavi, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that I can. I'm busy and I'm stressed and I can't quit right now.
Okay, it's not problem. Everyone is busy in their life. I'm busy in my life. You are busy in your life. If you're busy, okay, if you have your health, then only you will be busy, right? If you don't have your health, which is working like a machine in the whole day, then how? You will be busy also. You will not enjoy your a single second of your life, right? So is it okay for you that you are busy and you are going like a animal, like you have breathing, you are eating, you are smoking, and then you are going to die? Is it okay for you?
Oh, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. It's just so much. I'm so busy. I have so many things. I'm
Okay.
very stressed. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. Or let's pause
Okay.
for a second. Let's
Yeah.
pause for a second. Let's say that I said, oh, Jahannavi, you're absolutely right. I will try. And let's say it's 1 week
Yeah.
later now, and I come back and you say,
Okay. Did you try what I have told you?
oh, no, no, no.
Okay. May I know the reason why?
Oh, I just, there are so many things. I will try. I will try. I will try. And let's say 1 week later,
Yeah,
let's
that's
go
fine.
again.
You will try it. Okay. Did you
Okay.
try it? What I have told you already?
Oh, oh no. Oh no. To, I tried for 1 day. I tried for 1 day.
Yeah.
And then the next day I smoked a lot more.
Okay. What's the one thing that infatuate you towards the smoking?
Mm. Okay, let's pause there. That's perfect. Great. Okay, so naturally you did a little bit of motivational interviewing, even though you didn't know that you were doing it. But as you started getting into it, it this is normal for all of us. As you started getting into it, you felt uncomfortable, like I have to pull back. I can't do too much of it. So let me tell you what the parts were that you were doing it. Uh, we'll actually flip the role play for 1 minute, and you're going to be the resistant patient, and I'm going to be the doctor. Okay.
Okay.
So be very mean, just like I was. Be a resistant bad patient. Okay. Jahannavi, tell me about your smoking. You said that you want to get healthy and you're a smoker. Can you tell me what you like about the smoking?
Yeah, I like the smell. I like when I do the smoking, I enjoy a lot because it is more uh, beneficial for me other than oxygen, I think, because I
Mm.
enjoy a lot and I'm used to it. And when I will not do this, I feel so uncomfortable. I feel so bad. And I want this every day, in every morning, before sleeping. I want this. But still, on the other side, I want to be healthy. So, doctor, can you please help me in this?
Yes, but let's talk still for a moment about the good parts of smoking. I think that it sounds like it's relaxing to you. It sounds like it allows you to de-stress. Tell me a little bit more about the how much you enjoy smoking. Tell me a little bit more.
When I enjoy, I'm totally open up. You get what you want.
Mm.
Okay, like when you don't get this, you feel so bad. In the same way, when I get this, I feel so happy. Like I got everything. I have everything. I feel like I have everything. And the day when I resist myself that I don't have to smoke, on that day I resist myself for few hours, but later it becomes so disturbing for me, and I take 3 or 5 times in a day. So I really
Yes.
enjoy this.
Good.
Yeah,
And it sounds like it's a very centering experience. Tell me where you smoke and with whom you smoke.
with my friends, with my colleagues, and sometimes when I used to go in the bar, there I used to smoke,
Mhm.
and I
Good.
really enjoy. When we are with our friends, it is like, wow, this is a wonderland, and here we are the people only. So I really
Yes.
enjoy the company with my friends.
Yes, yes. It's so nice, isn't it? And tell me a little bit about your mental state when you're smoking. When you're inhaling, what is the feeling that you
Yeah.
get?
Uh, Doctor, I can't explain in my words, but still I'm trying to explain you. When I inhale, I feel like I'm having that, that essence of the life. I feel the essence of the life when I inhale the smoke. So it's that necessity that uh, nothing else. I can't compare anything with this. So it
It
is
sounds
so good for me.
it sounds blissful.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. Well, I would never want to take bliss away from you.
You should go for once.
I should go for a cigarette. I've actually never tried a cigarette, but it sounds, based on your experience, like it's a very, very wonderful thing.
Yeah,
So let me pause for a second. Normally, what the client would do here, when you emphasize how good it is, and then you just pause. Oh, Jahanavi, it sounds really good. And then I just pause and don't say anything. And if you pause long enough, then they will start saying, oh, yes, but my nails are gross, my breath smells, and my wife or my husband doesn't want to kiss me as much. I worry that I can't play with the kids as much. And then they start saying, you'll notice this, but you have to get really good at at emphasizing the positives of smoking, like in a way where you genuinely, they can tell that you know exactly all of the benefits. And if you tell them all the benefits and don't tell them any of the downsides, as doctors, we always want to tell them the downsides. Do you think that a smoker knows or doesn't know the downsides? Really honestly.
he knows very well. I think he
He
knows very
knows
well the
very
downsides.
well.
Yeah,
He knows
yeah.
very well already. So if the doctor tells him, don't you know this is making you live less? Don't you know this is stinky breath and bad nails? Don't you know that you can't exercise? They say, well, of course I know, but, and then they say all the positives. They know for sure. So one of the big problems we do as doctors is we come in with all these facts and we think that we are a rational human and they are a rational human, like two computers meeting. And if we tell this computer what my algorithm knows, they will say, oh, it makes perfect sense. I will stop tomorrow and never smoke again. But the part that has all the facts is a different part of the brain than the part that does all the smoking. That's underneath, that's in the middle of the brain. And so motivational interviewing is just as it sounds. It's interviewing. So I'm asking you questions, but I'm doing them in a way that is motivating you to change instead of resisting you against change. Now, note if I say, Jahanavi, smoking is so bad for you. It's so awful. Everything that you get bliss from is so awful, and I must take it away from you. How do you feel inside when I say, you must never see your family again and enjoy the bar again and never see your friends again? You would feel anxious. But if I tell you
Yes.
all the positives, and if I say, isn't it amazing how you get these moments of bliss and you get energy and you connect with your friends and you connect and you feel this high, and maybe the burning in your throat feels really nice. I don't know, because I haven't tried it, but as a doctor, you have to really put yourself in the mind of the patient and not in the mind of the doctor. So you have to imagine, if I were addicted to smoking, what positive could I see in the smoking? And there's no such thing as too much. If you think you've said too much, you still haven't said enough. Now, if you can learn this technique, this will make you more liked and more effective with all of your patients, because it's the total opposite of what they're expecting the doctor to say. And instead of you telling them how bad it is, if you tell them everything good about it and then leave a long silence, you say nothing, you'll find, do this as an experiment with your next patient, you will find that in that long silence, their brain will start saying the reasons why they should change. And tell me in the comments, is it more powerful? If it's more powerful, is it the doctor saying it or the patient saying it?
Patience.
Patient, every single time. And so if the doctor tells them, you should quit, here's what's bad about it, I want you to stop right away, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this, I want this. They say, what about what I want? What about what I need, whether I'm ready for it? This person doesn't understand me, because they don't understand that I get these moments of bliss and ecstasy, and I connect with my best friend. My best friend, we have so many jokes and stories and laughs outside the bar. And I go outside and I look at a sunrise or a sunset and I enjoy that moment. And I don't have the kids nearby and I'm finished work. And it's my one moment of the day where I get to relax. And this doctor is trying to take my one moment of bliss away from me. I will not see this doctor again. And that's how the brain thinks. So the paradox is that if you introduce all of the good things about whatever the behavior is, they will feel so seen and so heard and so validated. They'll feel so understood that they will start arguing why they should change. And that's called motivational interviewing. So now let's do the opposite. We'll do the role play where I want you to tell me everything good about smoking, but this time you leave long silence after you do it. You don't say, but it's also bad and you should quit and you're not going to live as long. Leave that, hold it down. Your meditation skills are going to come in perfectly here, because after you say all the good and you want to say, oh, but I need to be a doctor and say all the bad, hold it and just sit and watch. Okay. So now you go ahead. So Jahannavi, I'm here because I want to live longer and better, and I'm a smoker, and I wonder if you could help me with my smoking.
Yeah, sure. But this will be helpful for you. You came here, so I'm definitely help you. But is it okay for you that I will say something and you have to follow? Is it okay for you that I will say that, Mr. Paul, you have to do this, 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 and you have to follow this? Is it okay for you to follow my instructions?
Yes, I will try. Yes.
Okay. So I think you have a very, what we can say that you have a very well determination towards yourself. So I'm definitely sure that you are going to achieve what you want, what you for what the reason you came here. Okay. So so here I'm going to explain few things like what you have to do or what you have to not. Okay. So just make a list. I will give you the list. You have to follow every step. Okay, and just note it down, and you have to follow everything. Fine. So are you ready? What you
Yes.
have to do or not?
Yes.
Are you sure you will follow my all instructions?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. But I want to talk about the smoking. Tell me about
Yeah,
the smoking.
I don't think so. Like you are going to quit in a few months because the way you are speaking or we were saying about yes, you are saying right now yes, but I don't think so. You will quit the smoking. You know the reason why?
Oh, why?
Because you're not so confident in your voice. You know, when you're not so confident in your voice, then how you can change your total habits? Okay, if you're not so confident right now, you have to say only yes. If you can't say in a confident way, then how you can change your habit, which is developed, which is manifested in you from last 8 to 9 years ago.
Hmm. I understand. So help me become confident with quitting smoking. How do I do that?
Okay, so first of all, if you are taking smoking in a day, like you are taking 5 or 6 times, then you have to go for 4 to 5 times. Okay, you have to
Oh, no,
reduce
no.
one.
I cannot do that. I cannot do that. Give me the motivational interviewing. So the question that the question I want you to answer for me is what's good about smoking? Tell me all the things that are good about smoking and then leave a long pause.
Okay. When you smoke, what you feel? You feel like you are in your heaven. You feel like
Oh, I suppose so. Yes.
yes. What you really feel when you smoke, when you be in that moment, what you really feel? You feel right. You are the only person. You have a wonderful life. You have nothing to worry about, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. How do you know?
I know this because I have number of people, those who are doing this, and I saw their expression while they do so. And one thing more I would like to say, like when you do the smoking, you really feel like you have all the powers, right? You have all the powers. You are the dominant person. You can enjoy your life in the fullest form that nobody can else, isn't it?
Yes. 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 But but
So
I can't keep up with my kids as well, and it's very hard to be able to keep up with my kids.
So
And so now
this
keep going, don't stop, keep going. More positives.
this thing only you want from your life, like you want to smoke, and on the other side you don't have want your kids to play with you. Is it you want?
Um, Tell me more. Keep going with positives about smoking. Just only positives about smoking. Again and again and again. No matter what I say, you tell me positives about smoking.
When you smoke, you feel wonderful, isn't it? You feel like you're feeling amazing, right? You feel you have everything. You don't require anything when you smoke. You enjoy that moment, you enjoy the company of your colleagues. You forget everything, like what happened in the day, whole day, what happened yesterday, what happened with your relationship, everything. You just be in that moment and you enjoy your smoking. When you see that piece of your cigarette or that part, you feel like you got what you wanted. Okay. So is it like that cigarette stick is like a golden stick for you, isn't it? So it is like a master key for you, for your life, master key for your life. So you just enjoy your day, enjoy your smoking period in all the day. Okay. So it is a wonderful thing for you. You are going in a very good way, you are going in a very great way. Like your life is so going in the flow with the river. You don't want anything. You just want what you are having. You're having everything because you are smoking and you are so uh, feeling rich in that. So it is
Oh,
a very
but I'm a little bit stressed because the other day I tried to play with my kid and I couldn't run with him, and I was really having a hard time at work. And my mother died of smoking, and I'm starting to get a little bit older, and I'm
so
starting
what
to
happened,
become.
Mr. Paul?
Oh, I'm well, she died of
Still
smoking.
you're enjoying,
And
isn't it?
oh, well, make sure you only say the positives. So you add more positives to it. When I go negative, you keep going
So
positive.
yeah, understood. So you are enjoying still. Why you're feeling the other side of that? You're enjoying, right? You
Oh,
have everything, Mr. Paul.
perfect.
And
Yes, yes. And I feel it's very difficult for me because I really enjoy it, and just my nails are gross, and my hair smells, and my kids are nearby, and I smoke, and I know smoking is not good, and
so
I'm
what?
I'm not going to live as
So
long.
what, Mr. Paul?
I'm just
Is it,
I
it
just
is wonderful for you, no matter what your kids are behaving with you for the smoking. If this is helpful, if this is wonderful for you, then nothing matters you, I think, because
I
you are
just
enjoying your life in the fullest way, in the best possible way.
I just really need to change. That's
No, I
perfect.
don't think so.
You got it. You got it. That's perfect. That's perfect. And so,
Yeah.
what did you notice while you were doing more and more positive? Did it feel uncomfortable?
No, I was so excited and I just wanted to continue with this and I just wanted to feel you that what you're doing, what you're feeling, I just wanted to increase that feeling, increase the
Mhm.
intensity of that feeling.
And did you notice how the more positive you did, the more I started saying, "Well, hold on,
Yeah,
I need to balance all your positive with some negative." Did you notice that the more
yeah,
you
yeah.
added positive, 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 I got more and more uncomfortable and started saying, "Oh, I don't know, but I need to change." And I started listing more and more reasons why I need to change.
Yeah,
Perfect. So that's exactly
totally. I
that's
just
go ahead.
that's why I wanted to increase the intensity of that positive feeling because
Yes,
I
and
saw the
and
changes in the
so you will notice this in your practice, but the key is that you have to really, really genuinely be connecting with them when you say the positive things, which you did perfectly. I mean, somebody is going to watch this and say, "Oh, I understand. I'm just going to do reverse psychology." And that's not what this is. It's not patronizing them or making fun of them or saying, you can't be fake about it. You must genuinely connect to say, if I were a smoker, why am I smoking? And then list all the positive things, the reasons. It's anti-stress. It helps me calm down. We know that it's also, it ages you and it's bad for you and it does. We know. Push that out of your brain. Everyone knows that. But if you can really connect with them and say all the positives that have to do with this negative behavior, this addiction, whether they eat too much food, if they smoke, if they stay up late, if you really truly understand them and they feel understood and they feel like you're not judging them, you're not saying, "Oh, but you need to change." Don't say that. Sit on it. If you notice that coming up in your head and you're just about to say, "Oh, this is too much positive, I'm uncomfortable," zip. Use your meditation skills and sit. And if they are not giving negatives, then it means you did not go far enough. And so this can be very uncomfortable for somebody who wants to just tell the patient what the fact is. Patient, the fact is that you are 20 kilograms overweight and you need to lose weight and you need to stop smoking and you need to exercise and you need to do all these things. And if you went to somebody and they told you, "I have all the answers for you, you need to do these 100 things," you would feel stressed leaving. I would feel stressed leaving. We would all feel stressed leaving there. But if I said, "I really want to change, I want to eat better, I want to sleep better, I want," then I'm more likely to actually come back a week later and say, you know what? I noticed that while I was smoking, I just thought, this is kind of, I don't need an extra one today. Maybe I just need one less today. And then you start encouraging them, wow, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that. And they tell you, oh, well, I just feel like I need less. And you'll see that their own brain will start doing it. And so there's a lot more to it. You can't just do that repeatedly over and over again every single visit, because they'll think you're crazy. So this is at the very beginning you do this to get the ball rolling. Once the ball is rolling, the counseling skills are that you need to just say, I have 3 questions. Write these 3 down, okay, everyone. There are 3 questions where when you don't know what to say and you don't know what to do with a client, you ask these 3 questions. The first one is, tell me more. Tell me more. Write that down. The second one is, what's an example? And the third one is, and what else? Because we're so smart as doctors, we have so many facts in our head. We have so much knowledge that we want to give the patient. We tend to talk way too much. We tend to tell them everything that they need to know so they can be as smart as me. 90% of patients don't need to hear you talk. They need to feel you listen. And only when they feel that you listen deep enough, that's when they want to hear what you have to teach. But only then. And we do it backwards. All of us do it backwards. We say, I only have 30 minutes with this patient. Let me tell them everything, what's bad with their life. And that's not how you build long-term change. It's maybe how you get some short-term change, but it's not how you fundamentally change a person's behavior and identity. So those 3 questions, when you don't know what else to do, or even when you have a million thoughts in your head and you say, I could tell them everything bad about smoking. You quiet, tell me more. And what else? What's an example? Those 3. And we talk a lot about meditation. We talk a lot about yoga. We talk a lot about groundedness. We talk about being centered and being there for the patient. We just do this. We talk, and then we don't practice it as doctors. As a doctor, you have to get very good at holding space and very comfortable with silence. If you're not comfortable with silence as a doctor, you're not going to get deep, lasting change with your patients, because they're not going to get vulnerable and comfortable enough to tell you what they really think. So I know I was going to talk today about muscle building and meditation and natural science. And as we got closer to the call, the more I was thinking, this compliance and how to get people to do what you want them to do is a much more powerful lever. We could talk about facts, and I'm sure some people came into this thinking, great, this Canadian doctor is going to tell me all these facts. I'm excited to learn these facts. Facts are useless if you don't have the person's commitment, their buy-in, if you're not connecting with them in a way that they feel seen and heard. And so that is the number one skill a doctor should learn, more than biochemistry, more than physiology, more than pathophysiology, more than pharmacology, more than anything else. Learn how to connect with your patients, and you will get better change than if you read 10,000 textbooks. And of course, after you're connected with them, you need to know apologies for swearing, but you need to know your shit. You need to know your stuff. So study like crazy, but don't start the meeting every time with, here's everything I know, let me impress you by how much I know as a doctor. They don't care. That's at the end of the visit. You add in some facts and some knowledge and some things. Always connect with them first. So that being the case, why don't we jump into some questions now? I hope that that was helpful for you. If, it's one thing to talk about motivational interviewing, it's another thing for you to be able to practice. So hopefully after seeing this, some people are able to kind of pull a partner aside and say, hey, let's practice this uncomfortable and let's see how this works. Because it only really benefits you if you're able to practice getting into that silence and saying, tell me more, what's an example, and what else, and really outlining the positive of why somebody overeats. And it's always the same things. It's always that we're looking for self-connection, we're looking for relaxation, for bliss, we're looking for a moment of peace to myself. There might be a trauma in the past that you're trying to run away from. You might have anxious thoughts. You might just be looking, you might be bored and just looking for a high, or you might be looking for connection, or it's always the emotional reasons why we don't change, not the rational reasons. It's not that we just don't know that eating processed food is bad for you, or we don't know that smoking is bad for you. Everyone knows. And if you tell them more about what they know, they're just going to dig in their heels and they're not going to change because you're not hitting their emotional button. And that emotional button comes from holding space and listening and making them feel like you understand by being in their world and emphasizing the positives of the negative thing they're doing. All right, so let's jump to some questions. What do you guys have there? What are your thoughts? Let's bring on.
If anybody have their questions, kindly ask the questions.
We can even bring on some other team members if there's anybody else that has a question or wants to talk about any of what we ran through, wants to role play.
So, hi everyone. Hi, Dr. Paul. So, it was a really good session, and I would like you to share one interesting case from your clinical practice with us.
Let's see, one interesting case. Let's see. So I have a very different practice than most. My practice is a lot more preventative and high performance. And so typically I don't have patients come in with just a list of problems. Usually I have them come in and say, I have this knee pain and I'm a little bit overweight and I have a little bit of erectile dysfunction, but I just want to be better overall. And I say, no problem. And so there's a lot of testing that I do, and there's a lot of laboratory testing that I do. And so 5 tests that I run for every client, and this is I run these almost monthly with another client. All of this panel is a full body DEXA scan, head to toe, to be able to see what their muscle, bone, and body fat percentage is. Second is a general medical screen. So I look at their lipids, I look at their triglycerides, their cholesterol, their blood sugar, their liver function tests, their kidney function tests. We look at their inflammatory markers. We look at their iron status, their complete blood count with differential, everything. We run it all to be able to see what's low, what's high, what can we optimize. The third thing I run is called a SpectraCell. It's a micronutrient test that I run. And so I draw the person's blood and I test all of the vitamins and minerals in their blood, from vitamin A all the way to zinc, to be able to see what quality their diet is. And so that's the third test that I run. The fourth test that I run is a hormone panel. And so I run a hormone panel to be able to see what their testosterone is, their cortisol, their different estrogens, what their progesterone might be, their DHEA. You've probably seen or heard of all these different kind of substrates in the hormone cascade. And so I like to run that and then optimize that as well. The fifth thing that I run is called a cardiovascular inflammatory profile. And so typically when we think of heart disease, we think about heart attack, right? We all have patients that we look at them and we think, oh, I'm nervous this person's going to have a heart attack one day, right? And so one of the tests that I run for heart attack is not just cholesterol and blood sugar, because those are important, but inflammatory markers that are specific to the inner lining of the heart. And so there's something called the Pulse Cardio-Inflammatory Profile in North America that I have here that I run. If you go to drmaximus.com/labs, LABS, you'll see the list of all of these. And so I run these 5 tests quite frequently with all of my clients. And there's so many interesting things that come up there that we can optimize based on. One of the ones that I just find repeatedly is how many people have a dysregulated cortisol awakening response. That is something where if you don't go to bed on time, and let's say you're up late with your phone and you have the blue light from the phone hitting your retina, then you're not going to get that melatonin rise. You're not going to get a proper amount of melatonin when you're sleeping. And the next morning when people get up, normally cortisol should spike in the first 30 to 60 minutes of the day, and then it drops and progressively over the day kind of cruises down in the afternoon and the evening. But in people who stay up late and they're on their phones, and then they wake up in the morning and maybe an alarm goes, and it's been months and months of doing this, they're not able to get out of bed really easily. They're wired and tired. They need a coffee in order just to get going. Usually these people don't have that spike first thing in the morning. It's kind of flat. And so there are a number of herbs that I use in this situation. The most important thing I should say is the behavioral stuff. You have to be able to turn off your phone early, go to sleep. And I know that right now it's late for you guys, so I'm making you stay up with your lights on and everything. But ideally, we turn off the lights, turn off the electronics, turn off the screens early. And that really helps to get a deep sleep. Now, one of my favorite herbs, tell me if you prescribe this or if you're familiar with this, ashwagandha. One of my favorite herbs, and I use it very consistently for helping people to regulate their sleep, to be able to get a deeper sleep, and to be able to help with that cortisol awakening response first thing in the morning. Another thing that I love about ashwagandha is that there's some literature suggesting that it can help to rebalance the ratio of cortisol to testosterone. And I work with a lot of men. So in particular, men want a little bit more testosterone, a little bit less cortisol. Ashwagandha is beautiful for helping with that. That's one of my favorite herbs. So I could talk about that like crazy, but there's not necessarily one interesting case that comes to mind, because so often there's this sort of standard approach that I take to make all my clients superheroes, and we optimize everything. And so that's, if somebody wanted to look at what my full process is, drmaximus.com/labs is where it would be. But there's one clinical pearl actually that before I let you go, there's one thing that I'll say. There is say yes in the comments if you have heard of the lab marker ferritin. If you've heard of ferritin. So ferritin is it's a iron storage protein, and it is a test that you run, a blood test that you run to be able to see how good are somebody's iron stockpiles, how good is their iron in their system. And in men who have a ferritin that's too high, their testosterone is actually limited by high normal ferritin. And so one of the things that I like to recommend for the men that I work with is, for general health, if you want to have optimal testosterone, give blood once per year. If you can give blood once per year, you'll bring your ferritin down into an optimal range. The average person, some people that might be too much, other people too little, but the average person, if you give blood once per year, not only will you save somebody's life, but also you will be optimizing your own ferritin and your own testosterone. So for all the men listening, or for all the women who are working with men and you want to optimize their testosterone and you want them to do a good thing, ask them to go and donate blood, because once a year according to some of the research that I've read, it really helps for keeping that testosterone into a better range than it otherwise would be.
This sounds interesting, actually. Lovely. Thank you so much.
No problem. What other questions do we have?
So I have one question.
Yes, please.
So the step you have asking to take regarding the patients, like they have to take um, any kind of what you can say, like they have to do anything when they are very frustrated from that, then only they take this step, right? If any person, any patient is frustrated already, then only he or she will take this step, otherwise that person will go in that flow. So how we as a doctor may convince the patient without going in that situation? Okay, we as a doctor, we know that he is going in a wrong direction, so we as a guidance for him, we have to stop that person before going in a wrong direction, right? So how we can stop that person in that midway?
One of the questions I think that we maybe could ask a little bit more often is the question, what do you want? To ask the client, what do you want? Because typically, let's say that somebody is, you're concerned that somebody is going to have a heart attack. They're overweight, they smoke, they don't eat very well. You're worried that if I don't do something, this person will have a heart attack. And so one of the questions that's a really powerful question to ask is when they first come in, you ask them, what do you want from your life? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? And just let them talk. Let them say everything that they want and buy into their dreams. Really encourage them to expand on their dreams. I think that as far as how do we get people to kind of turn around when they're going the wrong direction, there's a lot of counseling skills that I think are very important to use to layer on top of each other. Motivational interviewing is one. There's a number of questions that we might need to ask in order to get them sensing that urgency, that same urgency that we have. But if we make them feel that we are very anxious and urgent to make them feel better, that may work. Most of the time, long term, it won't work. It'll work for a short term. And so asking them about their motivations, about what they want, without telling them how their life should be, is a very important thing, because everybody has hopes and dreams and goals and wants. Most of us are just too afraid to say them. We're too afraid to admit them, because what if they don't happen? Then I'll be disappointed. And so as a doctor, we don't necessarily have to motivate them and make them excited. Sometimes we do. And sometimes that's very helpful. And I'm sure that we're all very good at that when, especially in this platform, we're all very good at that. But sometimes we just have to ask them, what do they want? And just keep asking questions and let them really open their mind and expand, so that instead of saying, how do we get you away from a heart attack? We say, what do you want? And the man in that situation might say, well, I would really like 6-pack abs, and I would like nice arms, and I would like a beautiful date, and I would like a lot of money, and you ask them, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then instead of us trying to stop a negative, instead of trying to stop somebody from having a heart attack, which is a negative motivation, it's a fear motivation. You ask them, what do you want? If you could dream of your best body and your best life, what do you want? And usually the person will say, oh, I want a beautiful body. I want to be desired. I want to feel really good. I want to have energy. They'll say, I want to have money. They'll say these things, and you use these as your motivation to say, okay, let's go get those things. You don't say, let's avoid a heart attack, because that's scary. I don't want to think about avoiding a heart attack. I'm not going to go to the gym because I'm scared I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to go to the gym because I'm excited to look amazing and get the babe that I want. And so there's a different way that we can frame the same question of, do we scare them and say, hey, you're going in the wrong direction, we need to stop you going in the wrong direction? Or do we say, forget why you're here. Tell me your dream. What's your dream body? What's your dream life? And then when they talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and you hold space and you say, tell me more. What's an example? What else? What else? What else? What else? Try to ask them what else 5 times and just have silence. And you'll see that they have plenty of motivation. You just have to ask and then sit and let it reveal itself. I don't know if that answers your question. Guide me if that's sort of off the mark.
Sir, I'm satisfied with your answer, but don't you think that this will helpful only for that moment when I will be with that patient or with that client only? Remaining time when he's alone or he's in his own world, then again here that motivation will not uh, remain himself in every moment. Can you understand what I'm saying? Like the moment, the motivation he is developing, that will be a temporary one. When I will be with that client, then he will be motivated at that moment only. This will be this will not be long lasting. So we have to develop that in a long lasting form.
Yes.
What you have answered, that is fine, but it will not be a long lasting, I think.
Yes. And I think maybe the issue is that I don't know that there's not necessarily much that you can do in 1 hour that's going to be long lasting enough to forever change everything about a person's life. And so you will always need follow-up visits. You will always need to see them again and see them again and see them again, and help keep encouraging, keep building, keep adding to the change. I don't think that there's ever anything you can say or anything you can do, maybe rarely if it's the perfect scenario, but I don't think there's ever anything you can say or do that's in one conversation going to change a person's entire life permanently. I think that's not how we work. And so often we need to add another conversation. I'll see you next week. Great, I'll see you next week. And then just keep kind of layering on top, visit after visit. And when they succeed, you celebrate it like crazy. And when they fail, you minimize it. You say, oh, no problem. It sounds like it was a very tough week. What do you want to do this week? I think I'm understanding your sort of what you're grasping at, that how do we really get this long-term change when they're in front of us? We only have an hour, let's say, and there are 23 other hours of the day, and I can't be with them 24 hours of the day. I can only be with them at most, even if I see them every single day, I only see them for 1/24 of their entire day. So how am I supposed to get them to stay on track and stay motivated and stay consistent with their goals? And I think that this is where using the internet and using email and using text messages and following up is 21st century medicine. It's very important. Nowadays, if you want to be an effective doctor, you can either, maybe if you're a specialist and you have a specialist conversation 1 time per 6 months, that might be enough. But if you want to be a real proficient change doctor, somebody who changes people long-term, you have to be constantly in their mind. You have to be constantly in their presence, constantly putting your example around them, because they're learning from you. And so as doctors, we can't just have a shingle and see the person for 1 hour every 6 months, because 6 months later, you know that they won't have changed. But if you say at the end of the visit, I also have, I want to send you an email next week to see how you're doing and to check in. And by the way, here's my, my Instagram page or my Facebook page. You can, if you want to stay connected with me. You can see more things here. You are kind of the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so if the person goes home, they spend time with you and they love how motivated I feel. And then they go home and their family is smokers and eating poorly and not exercising and not meditating, and they're negative and they watch TV and they gossip about other people. If you go back to that environment, of course, those people, you'll become more and more like them. So if you really want to be a positive force in the world, you really want to be a doctor that changes their clients, you can't just talk to them within that hour. You have to have some ability to be online on the web where they can go and at least see what you're doing regularly, so that if they want to be more like you, they know exactly where to go to see what you're eating today, how you're exercising today. The doctor who is the firsthand example is super powerful these days, because we've all, I think, been to an expert who told us what to do, but you look at them and they don't look like they do any of it. And that's very demotivating. It doesn't give a lot of encouragement that that's the right path. And so if you're somebody who is really into this medicine, you really are into eating well and doing yoga and doing your meditation and studying the biochemistry and your medicinal herbs, and you've got a beautiful diet, take photos, make a blog, have a video, anything that, imagine your worst client that's desperate and they're surrounded by 10 negative people who live a bad life. And if you just posted one photo of a beautiful meal per week and they could see that, that would be their little thread of example that they could hold on to in their life of somebody who lives a great, positive, impactful life. And so I don't think there's any one thing that we can do to change their life in that conversation. But it's kind of like water hollowing out a rock. Over time, the influence will change them, because they'll see themselves in you and they'll start to emulate your example more and more over time, because they want to be more like you.
Yeah, totally agree, sir. Totally agree. And I'm happy with your answers.
Great. What other questions do we have? Is there anything else? How much time, by the way? You guys let me know how much time you want to keep today. I have a little bit more time this morning, so I'm not in a rush, but I don't want to keep you guys too long.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. How about you, sir?
I'm excellent. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question not regarding to your topic, which you have explained today, but you explained very well. This is some sort of a question I have. It's regarding a meditation, as you are guiding meditation. So I face the issues with the patients, like their monkey mind, I cannot control. I guide visualization, but after some moments, it's like they have their thought, and even myself struggling with the thoughtless state in a meditation. So how you can?
Great question. I love this question. There are 3 questions that I ask my clients to when they've never meditated before and they're struggling. There are 3 questions that I ask them to answer. And let's do them right now. Everybody close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Lift up your chest. Put your shoulders back and down. Just become comfortable. And once your eyes are closed, 3 questions. The first question: is cold air going in or out of your nose? Most people will be able to answer very easily that it is cold air going in. This is very expectant physiology, of course. Second question: is the air coming in more through your left nostril or your right nostril, or evenly? For some people it will be left, for some people it will be right, for some people it will be even. All are good answers. The third question: What is the length of your inhale in seconds? How many seconds is your inhale? And how many seconds is your exhale? For most people, without paying attention or without trying to change it, most of the time, it will be about 2 or 3 seconds of an inhale and maybe 2 to 4 seconds of an exhale. Now, once you know what your inhale and your exhale is, see if you can lengthen the exhale by 1 second. Good. So ideally, we want our exhale to be a little bit longer than our inhale, a little bit longer. Now, every time you take an inhale, it is like a car hits the gas. Your nervous system gets a little bit activated when you take an inhale. If you notice your pulse, feel your pulse and take a long inhale. And you'll notice that your heart rate goes up when you take an inhale. Now take a very long exhale, relaxed. And you'll notice over time, some people need to do this for a few minutes repeatedly before they really notice. But you'll notice that every inhale, your heart rate goes up a little bit, and every exhale, your heart rate goes down a little bit. So inhale and exhale is like a gas and a brake on the nervous system. And what we want to try to do for most people is add a little bit more brake to their nervous system, slow the car down a little bit. And the way we do that is by adding 1 second to their exhale. So my favorite approach is these 3 questions. When I have a new patient or a client who has their monkey mind, and we all have the monkey mind, I have it every day, just like everybody else. And I've been to a 100-hour silent meditation retreat, and I still sometimes have a monkey mind. I ask myself these 3 questions. Is it cold going in or out? Is it left or right nostril? And what is my inhale and my exhale? And then can I increase the exhale by 1 second? And if you can have a client do that, even just in the office, they come and sit with you in the visit, and you say, before we begin, I just want to do one thing for one moment. Can you close your eyes with me? Can you answer for me these 3 questions? Let's do a quick test. And you ask those 3 questions. And there's no religion, there's no faith, there's no right or wrong. It's just asking them to tune into their body and just to get centered and grounded and relaxed. And so those are the 3 questions that I like to use. So if you find yourself or your patients struggling with meditation, ask them those 3 questions and then give them a lot of praise afterwards. You did a great job. That's awesome. That's enough for today. That's all you need. And if you're laying in bed tonight and you can't sleep, ask yourself those 3 questions again. Sometimes they'll be enough. Sometimes you'll need a little bit longer, a little bit more. Does that help a little bit? Does that answer a little bit the question?
Yes, sir. It's a perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'll add one more thing. Tell me, good sir, how often you brush your teeth?
Twice a day.
Twice a day, at least once a day, right? Everyone can say at least once a day. Okay. Now imagine if you brushed your teeth instead of once or twice a day, you brushed your teeth for 1 hour every month. Which do you think is more beneficial? Every day for 1 minute, or at the end of a month for an hour?
It's obviously every day for 1 minute.
The brain and mental health is a lot like dental health. And if you treat your mental health like your dental health, your mental health would be great. We need a little bit every day, just like brushing your teeth is much better than going on a very long meditation once a year. It'll be way healthier and you'll get way more benefit if you do a little bit every day. And so those 3 questions are my way of getting people to, you don't need faith, you don't need to have any sort of, there's nothing complicated about it. Can you tell me again, just say back to me, and everybody in the comments, type those 3 questions to me just so that I know that you caught them. What are those 3 questions?
Is that cold air coming in and out? The second one is right nostril or left nostril. And the third one is inhalation seconds and the exhalation seconds. And if I can increase.
Perfect. That's it. Remember those 3: cold, warm, left, right, inhale, exhale. If you can just sense those once per day, you'll have a little bit of groundedness, like brushing your teeth every day. Good, good, good. I like the comments. Do we have any other questions today?
So we can wait for a few minutes. If anyone have their questions, they will ask in the comment box or in the video mode. मौसी देखो कितने लोग पढ़ रहे हैं मौसी से भाई बस Anybody, those who wants to ask their question, they can unmute yourself or you can comment in the chat box.
Okay, so hi, and can you tell us about your naturopathic education? So earlier last week, we had someone from CCNM who's doing her 2nd year. Talk to us about. So can you tell us more about yours and where did you do your education of naturopathy?
Great question. Thank you. So I did my education at the Boucher Institute of Naturopathic Medicine. It's the other naturopathic school. There are 2 naturopathic schools for naturopathic medicine in Canada. So I did mine here in Vancouver, and it is a 4-year program, full-time. There are 4,700 hours in total, 4,700 hours of classroom education. There's quite a bit of clinical experience as well. We have to do externships and preceptorships where you go and shadow with doctors in the community, and you can choose any area you like. We're very, very fortunate here in British Columbia, in the west side of Canada, because we have the best scope of the naturopathic doctors in Canada currently. And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that allowance. And it's that we are able to write prescriptions, birth control, antibiotics, hormone replacement therapy. If someone needs thyroid medication, we can write the prescription for any of those medications. We can also run all the lab tests that we need. And so, as I mentioned, drmaximus.com/labs, I run all of these lab tests with all my high performance executives and athletes. And we also run intravenous therapies. And so these will include vitamins, minerals, amino acids, antioxidants like glutathione. And so the scope of practice in British Columbia is very, very wide. Comes with this massive responsibility, because for such a small fraction of doctors in the province, we have such a massive toolkit that we can use. Some doctors use, and we had to study acupuncture for the entire time. We study a lot of counseling. There's a lot of nutrition. There's a lot of herbalism, botanical medicine. We learn physical medicine as well. So we have hands-on adjustments where we can do adjustments to the entire spine. There's quite a bit of physical medicine involved, actually. And a ton of biomedical science, obviously, to be able to understand how the cell works and how the basic building blocks of the cell are nutritional components. And so, you know, your vitamin B3, niacin, is part of the citric acid cycle and the electron, you know, it shuttles from the citric acid cycle to the electron transport chain. Same with vitamin B2, riboflavin, and CoQ10 is involved in the electron transport chain. So everything that you eat fundamentally determines how your cell functions, the amount of energy you can produce, the way that your brain cell works, the way that your kidney, your liver, your heart, your everything. And so one of the major emphases, one of the things that are emphasized very much are understanding the basic elements of how the cell functions. And once you understand that, it's kind of like the matrix. It's kind of like you can step back from the matrix, and if you understand the systems biology of the cell, the way that the cell works, then you can fundamentally start to impact its health, and you can problem solve in a deeper level rather than just thinking depression, antidepressant. And that's what some doctors do. They have hypertension, antihypertensive. You have high cholesterol, statin drug. And that's a very simplistic, you know, it's helpful for people to get started, but it's obviously not the most long-term, holistic, deepest, I think, most effective approach. And so there's a massive range, there's a massive scope. In British Columbia, we learn a lot of these topics, and especially here on the West Coast, our scope tends to be a little bit more medical. And so we are able to write prescriptions and to run labs and to drip IVs. And so I coming from a medical family, my dad's a surgeon, my sister's a part-time OB and palliative care, my brother-in-law is a radiologist. So I come from a medical family, and medicine to me is a very sacred art. It's very important. The science of medicine is very important. And if there were one flaw, I think, in naturopathic medicine or naturopathy, it's that we sometimes have a difficult time letting go of the things that don't really work. And this is, I'm sure, a big debate, that just because something is natural, it must be good and it must be helpful and it must be, you know, useful with no side effects. And there's a lot of there are these rules of thumb in naturopathic medicine that we apply that are not really the best way of thinking about health in the cell. And so we don't want to lose our traditional knowledge. We don't want to lose the common sense and the protocols and the herbs that have been handed down for thousands of years. But we also don't want to become doctors that push placebos on people, that all we do is placebo medicine. We don't want to fall into that camp. And sometimes I find that naturopaths can be so open-minded that they lose their sense of critical thinking. And so you must still have that ability. The patient just wants to get better. They don't care whether it's an herb or a pharmaceutical or a yoga pose. They don't care. They just want to get better. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, how sure am I that the thing I'm doing is the best possible option for the patient? And sometimes just because we're naturopaths, we choose the naturopathic option, when in some cases, the medical option is the better option. And so you have to be aware of when to go with which tool, and not just to stay with dogma of what your degree told you to do.
That's totally, I agree with that, because we've been having the same issues here, and I think you just put it forward very precisely, perfectly. True.
Right.
We
And
really need critical reasoning.
yes. And I think that it's an uncomfortable thing. I'll tell you, it's a very uncomfortable thing to be maybe the one classmate in the entire the one classmate in the school or in the class that is bringing up a critical thought or is saying, hold on a minute, let me just play devil's advocate here for a minute. What if this thing that we think works is really a placebo? What if? And some people will throw arrows at you and shut up, be quiet, don't say that. And it's an honest question. You should be able to ask questions and be able to have a dialogue. And if something is no longer, the evidence is no longer supporting something, or it's not as strong as we expected or wanted or thought, then the wisest doctors are the ones who don't lose common sense, but they move with where the research is going, instead of holding on and saying, science will prove me right, science will prove me right, because sometimes science is not coming to prove you right because what you believe is not 100% right. And so we have to have that confidence and that comfort and that acceptance of each other to be able to voice some what if and critical thoughts and devil's advocate, and let the profession evolve rather than to stick with the tools that you have. There's a saying that is, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And this applies greatly in naturopathic medicine. We have a set of tools that we're in love with. And so we think, I'm just going to do these tools over and over and over again. And sometimes the patient needs a drug, and we refuse to give them the drug because we're hitting them with this hammer. Sometimes you have to let go of the hardcore theoretical way of looking at it and do just what's best in the short term for the patient, thinking long term in the back of your mind, but to do the short term to be able to help get a little bit of movement and progress. And sometimes we can get stuck, from sort of a theoretical perspective, being anti-medicine. And I think that's the wrong approach.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's a great question. I really appreciate that.
Anyone else who you want to ask the question? So there is one feedback from our team member.
How do I pronounce his name? Is it Dixak?
Yeah, Dixak.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you very much, you guys, for showing up. Thank you so much, Doctor. It was a wonderful session. Great talking with you. Hope to see you again in the future. Thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us. It's absolutely my pleasure. I'm very grateful to be here with you guys. I think that there's a ton of promise. There's a ton of potential in this medicine. And if you can be the doctor who holds that space, who asks the questions and is able to sit comfortably in silence, you will look like a wizard. You will look like a ninja or a wizard or a Jedi or whatever term you want to use. You will look like what you're doing is magic. But we have to stop thinking that we have to force facts onto people, because people don't need more facts. They need more connection and being seen and heard, and for their own idea to be the thing that motivates them. And that takes you to be able to step back and be a ninja about the questions that you ask and the way that you hold silence.
I think people have asked the question and they have cleared their doubt. And personally, sir, this was a very wonderful session, and it was a commendable session for me also as a moderator. I felt so, and I hope we can have more session with you in a practical and much appropriate manner. And I hope to meet you soon, and you just share your wisdom and shower your wisdom with us in the same way. Thank you so much, sir, for being here, for giving your precious time here. Thank you so much, sir, from our team OYG. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Now
you.
we
And
have to conclude.
You all have a wonderful night. Turn off your screens and go ask yourself the 3 questions in bed.
Yeah, sure, sir. I think we all will do. Have a great day, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Bye,
you.
sir.
Goodbye.